Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. This is the podcast where we help you challenge your mindset and discover where you are. Tired of stories about other people's success? We can help you change your life, determine your time freedom point, and join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Hey, hello, and welcome back to the Ideal Investor Show, where we talk about things related to money and investing and how to get to early retirement, reaching our time freedom point and financial independence. And I'm going to start something new, and you know me by if you have been listening to our show and coming to our interviews and reading our articles and newsletters and so forth. Every so often, some event happens or some news hits or something like that triggers a certain change. And I want to tell you quickly for this first episode in this new series what happened and what the background is, and then for the subsequent episodes I will just briefly touch on it, just in case somebody joins us, like in the middle of the series and so forth, and should get at least an idea why we're doing it or why I'm doing it. So here's basically what happened. I participated in a workshop that had the goal to help participants to write better and create better content. And in that context, we were all asked for the first 10-15 minutes, think about what would be a question that would help everybody improve if we were to get an answer. And we all worked together. There were 15 people or so in the workshop. And the question that came out of it basically is, what am I missing, or what am I doing wrong, or what should I be improving on to get more engagement and better results from my target audience? And then in the main part of the workshop, we basically went around and we had a chance before we even started to look at the participants' stuff. And even during the workshop, we showed a couple of examples. And then we went into kind of one-on-one breakout room conversations where each for 2 minutes could say what they're actually doing and how they're doing it, and then receive an answer to this original question. And so what became clear to me afterwards, because we all received the recording, so we had a chance to actually review what were the results of the workshop for us, I realized that I got 4 or 5 of the people that I got to talk to in these breakout rooms telling me that when they looked at my content, they really felt that I am credible, that I have good knowledge about the real estate investing and investing in general and how to manage money, all those good things. But what they were missing was some sort of an emotional touch, a personal touch, something that they said in their own practice. When they speak about money, a lot of people talk about how they feel about money, or what money and dealing with money and investing money does to them emotionally, or to their family, or to their relationships and so forth. So when I heard that once or twice, okay, that made sense. And I admit that I'm not been focusing on that aspect very much. It's not really so much in my nature. But then when I saw it in the recording 4, 5, 6 times, all kind of going in the same direction, I decided, okay, going forward, I want to kind of make up a little bit for those missed opportunities. And this is why the series is going to start. And I want to touch on a number of different things that have to do with emotional aspects of money and investing, and in general, the feelings that are associated with it. Now, as most of the people who know me longer know, I'm not a particularly touchy-feely woo-woo person or so forth, but I'm first to admit that when I, for example, make a great deal and something really works out, I am really elated and happy and joyful. And if stuff doesn't work, and sometimes you have these phases where it seems like everything is going wrong, I'm down, I'm depressed, and people better don't talk to me and stuff like that. So in that sense, it totally applies to me as well. I just always have a little bit of an issue to getting it across. So in this first episode of the series, I want to pick up on something that I've also mentioned in some of my articles and in my recent newsletters, and that has to do with worry and scarcity. And the idea here is that we oftentimes transfer a mindset that comes from long time ago into our present reality, and how we're actually dealing with stuff. And what I mean by that is, in the articles, I always put this into kind of like a third person situation, but it really relates to me. And I don't want to get it and make it too personal, but one thing I remember very vividly was that in our household with my parents, my dad was very, very frugal and wanted to keep money together very much, rather not spend anything and always be with a minimum is good enough. And my mom was a little bit more outgoing and wanted to make the house nice and have nice vacation, nice clothing, and those kind of things. And you can imagine that that oftentimes led to very loud fights, basically, because the one person wanted to keep the money together and the other one didn't. What I realized, when I was basically in my first job working for the Air Force and finally actually getting to a point where we had more income than we really needed to spend, that we had opportunities to basically use some money just for joy. I was afraid of doing that. A person that helped me was a coach that I had at the time who really allowed me to go back to these situations at home when I was like 8, 10, 12, 15 years old. And what we basically uncovered together was that these fights that I observed, that were to some extent really vicious and sometimes led to not speaking to each other for quite a while, that actually had given me the impression that when I spend money on anything that is not absolutely necessary, there might be a fight following. And that was irrational because it had never happened in my life. And I don't have relationships like that where that would even ever be the case, right? So it was just a fear that was sitting deeply inside me and a worry. And so I basically went the path of saying to avoid it, rather only spend on the absolute necessities, which is not a bad approach, right? And it allows you to be really frugal and have money on the side and have a security blankets and stuff like that. And a lot of people want the security, but what they don't want is the worry. And so I think it is important to let go of what you observed in the past that may have kind of like imprinted on you for your own behaviors now and in the future, right? And what I've basically been doing ever since realizing this is to say, okay, what is the money that I'm planning to spend or we're planning to spend really for? What can it achieve for us? Asking and answering that question or those questions up front, then it's totally okay to say what we want to achieve with it is just have some fun or have a couple of really nice time together with some friends or for a meal or things like that. And not everything has to be necessarily for investing. Now, on the investing side, it also means, have we really asked ourselves what's the goal and how likely is it to achieve the goal by spending this money on this particular deal? For all of you who are working with me or planning to work with me, and by the way, if you're planning that, then please go to idealinvestorshow.com, find the button to book a call, and let's have a first conversation. But either way, if you're planning to work with us or you're already working with us, that is part of the reason why, from a security perspective, I'm always looking for you to only get into deals that have positive cash flow from the beginning, especially when we're talking about residential real estate investing. Because in a way, that is really the worst time of the deal. And if you can start out with even at least a little bit of positive cash flow over time, things will get better. And better in the sense of you will make more cash flow, your loans will be paid down, the property will appreciate, you can increase the rents, all those kind of things that make the deal better and better over time. And even in our very high interest rate environment right now, we know in 2, 3, 4 years, interest rates will come down and they will get to a point where we can refi into a lower rate, which again makes cash flow higher and the deal even better. So that's from the security perspective what I'm looking out for. But it's not that we should say we can only spend money in a rational way from an investing perspective. We should ask ourselves, what is the purpose? And it's totally okay if the purpose is joy. Not every day and for every penny, but every once in a while we can allow ourselves to have some joy, to have some fun, to do something that is maybe a little bit irrational just because that's part of life. So I hope you can relate. You can find a way, if you have any worries that may be founded in the past, to let those go, allow yourself to have some fun, And don't believe that if you make a mistake, then there will be no more money and it's all a matter of scarcity. And if you don't look after every penny and somehow put it aside and save it, then there will be no more. So that's the first message in our series. I hope you can relate. I would really love to get your feedback, and I would also like to hear what kind of emotional aspects and stories and situations have you experienced, so that we can talk about it. And if we share it, then I think we can all learn from it. So with that being said, that's it for today. This is the start of our new series. Be well and stay safe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.